FB එකෙන් News First ප්‍රවෘත්ති live බලන්න. අදම News First FB page එකට ගිහින් like කරන්න. ඉන්න තැනකදී live news බලන්න. දැනුවත් වෙන්න. ඇත්ත දැනගන්න. එය ඔබේ ITI.
The excursions of Ukrainian tourists to Sigiriya and Polonnaru were cancelled. Maligavatta housing scheme released from isolation. Members of the Galle Provincial Council engaged in a protest.
A very good afternoon. You're watching Lunchtime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Yuki Poshia. Let's start off with a look at your local news. The excursion of the Ukrainian tourists to Polonnaru and Sigiriya today have been cancelled.
The Central Cultural Fund stated the group of Ukraine tourists were scheduled to tour Polonnaru and Sigiriya today and tomorrow. The Central Cultural Fund had earlier taken steps to prevent local tourists from entering the Polonnaru tourist area after this afternoon, as they were scheduled to visit the ancient sites belonging to the Polonnaru tourism project. The Central Cultural Fund further stated that the Ministry of Tourism had cancelled the Polonnaru and Sigiriya tours of Ukraine tourists due to allegations that they did not follow health precautions during their visit to the Yala National Park on the previous day.
The National Operations Center for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreaks says the Maligavatta housing project will be released from isolation. Meanwhile, the isolation status imposed across certain areas in the Colombo and Gampaha districts was lifted at 5 this morning.
General Shavendra Silva, who heads the National Operations Center for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreaks, said in the Colombo district, the isolation was lifted across Modara police area, Keselwatta police area, Alstop West and East Gramasevak areas, the Wanathamulla Gramasevak area in the Borella police area, the Pitakote and Demalavatta area in the Mirihana police area. The isolation status of the Paliyagodavatta and Megahavatta Gramasevak areas in the Paliyagoda police area, Rohana Viharamavatta in Pattiya North, Neliyagahavatta and Purana Kotuvatta in Gangabada Gramasevak area was lifted today. In addition to this, isolation status of the Sri Jayanthi Mavata of the Vilgoda North Gramasevaka division in the Kiribatgoda police jurisdiction was lifted today. Chief of the National Operations Center for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreaks said the isolation status imposed across other areas will remain in effect until further notice.
Meanwhile, the Association of Government Medical Lab Technologists had convened a press conference yesterday.
When it comes
to COVID-19, we have taken a number of so-called calculated risks. When there is a pandemic, if we are bringing down COVID-19 infected people down to the country to uplift tourism, that is a big risk. The human waste of these people getting mixed with the earth is another risk. These risks persist. There is a risk when there is a pandemic. We cannot forget the risk or make it zero. If that can be done, this is not a pandemic.
Now, 2 deaths were reported last night due to COVID-19.
The deceased have been identified as 2 females residing in Valipanna and Colombo 15. They were 57 and 76 years of age. The Government Information Department said 213 people have died due to COVID-19. Meanwhile, the total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country has increased to 44,774. This is after 403 people tested positive yesterday. These are all contacts of the Paliyagoda cluster. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 7,311 patients remain infected and are being treated at hospitals at present. Another 535 patients recovered yesterday, rising the recovery tally to 37,252.
Police say that some institutions are not implementing the COVID-19 instructions issued by the government. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana stated that such institutions are being investigated.
2020 ඔක්තෝබර් 15 වෙනි දින ගැසට් නිවේදනය
In the Gazette issued on the 15th of October 2020, it clearly mentions the responsibilities of the company owners, managers and the supervisors. There should be a way to wash one's hands at the entrance. Temperatures should be checked at the entrance. A name list of those who enter and exit the premises should be maintained. The internal bodily temperature must be checked a few times a day. If there is enough space, they should limit the amount of people who enter the premises. Moreover, social distancing must be maintained inside. We expect the managements to pay attention to these matters. According to the information given by the police officers dressed in civil attire, even though they were maintained at first, now factories and companies seem to be avoiding these guidelines. If they are not, it is an offence. The police will take the necessary action together with the health officials. We would like to request to fulfill that responsibility.
එම වගකීම ඉෂ්ට කරන ලෙසට ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Specialist Dr. Anuruddha Padini expressed his views on the COVID-19 vaccine at an event held in Galle yesterday.
There is an uncertainty regarding the vaccine's effectiveness at this point. When a vaccine is being introduced to the world, its testing gets carried out in 4 stages. Since these 4 stages were done quickly, there is an uncertainty regarding the effectiveness of it. So far, the World Health Organization has recommended 4 vaccines for further testing. They are still in the experimental stages. As of now, globally 2 million vaccines have been given to people. Studies are being conducted regarding the effectiveness and antibodies generation of these vaccines. They will only be useful if they prove effective in studies. This vaccine will no longer be effective if it fails to generate antibodies or helps develop the disease, much like the vaccine given for dengue. There is an uncertainty. More than the vaccine, what is important is the immunity system, which if weak will pave the way for diseases.
වැදගත් හැටියට සලකන්නේ අපි ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණ පද්ධතිය කොච්චර ශක්තිමත්ව තියාගන්නවද කියන එක මත තමයි මේ රෝගයට සහ ඒ සමගම ගැටි වෙලා තියෙන බෝනෝන රෝග වලින් බේරීමට තියෙන මාවත විවර කරන්නේ.
Meanwhile, a group of employees who have not been made permanent in local government bodies for many years engaged in a protest opposite the Galle bus stand today.
The group then marched to the governor's office to present their demands. However, our correspondent reported that the governor was not present. The group then marched to Dakshinapaya, where the governor was meeting with the public.
In more local news, the Ceylon Teachers Service Union staged a protest in front of the Ministry of Education.
A group of diploma holders in 2017 and 2018 took part in the protest.
මේ මාස 9ක් යනතුරුත් විභාග ප්‍රතිඵල වලින් පසුවත් පත්වීම් ලබා දෙන්න අසමත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
They have failed to provide us with employment positions even 9 months after the exams. Before giving us jobs, the website of the Ministry of Education requested us to apply for schools online. That created many issues. They tried to update school registers 3 times. That too had many problems. The Minister of Education promised in Parliament to provide jobs to more than 3,700 diploma holders before the 31st of December. Today is the 4th of January. Give us a date regarding these appointments. We request them to tell a date of appointment right now.
වහාම පත්වීම් ලබා දෙන දිනය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්න කියන බලකිරීම තමයි අද අපි මේ විරෝධතාවය හරහා සිදු කරන්නේ.
In some tragic local news, a 15-year-old child has been assaulted to death in the Akkarepattu police division in Addala, Chennai.
Police said that the assault that led to the death was due to a dispute between 2 families. A child who sustained injuries passed away upon admission to the Addala Chennai hospital. The police have arrested the suspect who assaulted the child while further investigations are underway.
Today is the National Day Against Child Abuse. An awareness program in line with this was held at the National Child Protection Authority today.
30,000 stickers were fixed to vehicles and public places in front of the National Child Protection Authority today. The event was held under the patronage of the chairman of the National Child Protection Authority, Professor Mudita Vidhanapatirana. Professor Mudita Vidhanapatirana stated that 20% of the complaints received to the 1929 hotline is related to child abuse cases.
In 2009, the National Child Protection Authority gazetted a National Day Against Child Abuse. Accordingly, this is the 13th time this event is being held. I am happy to say that the National Child Protection Authority is fighting against child abuse.
Taking a look at some news overseas, speculation has swirled around Chinese billionaire Jack Ma's whereabouts after reports surfaced that the high-profile businessman has not made a public appearance in more than 2 months.
The Alibaba founder also failed to appear as scheduled in the final episode of his own talent show. According to foreign media, Jack Ma was supposed to be a part of the judging, but he was replaced by an Alibaba executive. His picture was also taken off the website. An Alibaba spokesperson said Ma was unable to take part on the judging panel due to a schedule conflict. Ma's business empire and group has been under scrutiny by Beijing ever since Ma delivered a controversial speech in Shanghai on the 24th of October that criticized China's regulation system for stifling innovation and likened global banking rules to an old people's club.
US President Donald Trump has been recorded telling Georgia's top election official to find enough votes to overturn the election result. US President Donald Trump told Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, quote, "I just want to find 11,780 votes," end quote. Raffensperger is heard replying that Georgia's results were correct. Joe Biden won Georgia alongside other swing states, winning 306 electoral college votes to Trump's 232. Since the 3rd of November vote, Trump has been alleging widespread electoral fraud without providing any evidence. All 50 states have certified the election results, some after recounts and legal appeals. So far, US courts have rejected 60 challenges to Biden's win. Congress is due to formally approve the election result on the 6th of January. Biden, a Democrat, is due to be inaugurated as president on the 20th of January. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi has been narrowly re-elected Speaker of the United States House of Representatives as a new Congress took office amid the surging coronavirus pandemic and a plot by some Republicans to overturn President-elect Joe Biden's victory over President Donald Trump. The House voted 216 to 209 to reinstate Pelosi on Sunday after Democrats lost 11 seats in the November elections to command a narrower 222 to 212 majority. Now, experts have raised concerns over India's emergency approval of a locally produced coronavirus vaccine before the completion of trials. Yesterday, Delhi approved the vaccine known as Covaxin, as well as the global AstraZeneca Oxford jab, which is also being manufactured in India. PM Narendra Modi touted the approval as a game changer, but health experts warn it was rushed. Health watchdog All India Drug Action Network said that there were intense concerns arising from the absence of the efficacy data, as well as the lack of transparency that would raise more questions than answers and likely will not reinforce faith in their scientific decision-making bodies. The statement came after India's Drug Controller General insisted Covaxin was safe and provides a robust immune response. He added the vaccines had been approved for restricted use in the public interest as an abundant precaution in clinical trial mode to have more options for vaccinations, especially in case of infection by mutant strains. He said, quote, "The vaccines are 100% safe," adding that side effects such as mild fever, pain and allergy are common for every vaccine. Meanwhile, the first doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus jab are to be given as the UK accelerates its vaccine program to tackle a surge in cases. With that, it's a wrap of lunchtime news here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Yuki Poshia. Take care and good day.